Hey guys, in this month's Historical Fiction 101, I'm going to be sharing with you my favorite books about the Romanovs. So, yeah guys, if you're new to my channel, you perhaps don't know this, but I am freaking obsessed with the Romanov dynasty. Yeah guys, I love all things Imperial Russia, and yeah, I especially love the story of the last Tsar, Tsar Nicholas II, and yeah, his family and the children, and yeah, you throw in Rasputin, just all that good stuff. Yeah guys, just such a terribly tragic story with this very unfortunate family during this tumultuous period, you know, of revolution and whatnot, and they were the casualties, obviously. I love the Romanovs. And when I was originally making this list for this video, you guys, I was kind of thinking about doing a whole video on just strictly, you know, the Romanov dynasty as a whole, because their dynasty lasted a very long time, you guys. It was founded in like the 1600s, like the early 1600s. So yeah, there was a lot of rulers during that time. The thing is, though, there's not a hell of a lot of historical fiction out there about other czars and whatnot. Most Romanov historical fiction is solely focused on Tsar Nicholas II. I mean, I can understand why. I mean, it's a very captivating, terrible story that's just really grabbed the attention of people all around the world, you know. But yeah, it's like I said, their dynasty was founded in the 1600s, but it's like no other focus or attention has been put on other rulers in that monarchy, you know? So I was like, you know, I'm just gonna do a video strictly focused on, you know, right there with Tsar Nicholas II, pretty much. You know, I'm just gonna focus strictly on him, you know, anybody surrounding him, whether it be, you know, his wife or his children or his mother or Rasputin or whatever. Anybody kind of in that inner circle. That's kind of what this video is going to be focused on, is recommendations for that time period, essentially. So yeah, you guys, I'm going to be looking at my notes here to get through this video, and yeah, this is all going to be Romanov recommendations if you happen to love this time in Imperial Russian history. And you guys, something I failed to neglect, every single one of these books that I am recommending, I have read every single one of these books, you guys. And yeah, these are some of my top favorites when it comes to the Romanovs. And yeah, this isn't even all of it, okay? This is not even half of it. But yeah, if I suggested everything I've read, this video would be very, very long. So yeah, this is just kind of my top favorites that I have read about the Romanovs. So yeah, up first, you guys, is The Romanov Bride by Robert Alexander. And yeah, the first 3 books are all going to be by Robert Alexander. He kind of wrote like a trilogy of books here that all kind of connect in a way. But yeah, The Romanov Bride, read by Robert Alexander. As the Russia of Nicholas and Alexandra rushes full speed towards catastrophe, the Romanov Bride follows the lives of 2 revolutionary souls. That of Grand Duchess Elizaveta, or Ella as she's referenced to in this novel, sister of Tsarina Alexandra, and then the other character is that of Pavel, a simple village man yearning for more. The life of Grand Duchess Elizaveta begins like a fairy tale. Born a princess of Germany, she marries the Grand Duke Sergei of Russia and enters the most lavish and magnificent court in the world, that of the mighty Romanovs, where she is renowned for her sumptuous fashion, jewels, and beauty, not to mention her kind heart. Her husband, however, possesses no such grace, and he rules Moscow as he does his wife, with a cold hard fist. And then moving on to the Pavel character. For Pavel and his bride, though living in St. Petersburg means sharing a crowded cellar with other families and barely being able to afford bread, nevertheless they are full of optimism, for their grandparents were serfs, and this young couple is the first to leave the countryside to seek a better existence. However, after an explosive confrontation between peaceful demonstrators and Tsarist soldiers, the lives of Ella and Pavel take 2 very different turns, but the fire of revolutionary Russia eventually links their fates forever. Yeah, this one's very good, guys. And like I said, another one by Robert Alexander here, Rasputin's Daughter. In the wake of the Russian Revolution, Maria Rasputin, eldest of the Rasputin children, recounts her infamous father's final days, building a breathless narrative of intrigue, excess, and conspiracy that reveals the shocking truth of her father's end and the identity of those who arranged it. What emerges is a nail-biting, richly textured new take on one of history's most legendary episodes. Yeah, and this, seriously, I loved this book, you guys. This one was particularly very, very well done. Next up, once again, Robert Alexander, The Kitchen Boy. Drawing from decades of work, travel, and research in Russia, Robert Alexander recreates the tragic, fascinating story of the final days of Nicholas and Alexandra as seen through the eyes of the Romanovs' young kitchen boy, Lyonka, I think is how the name was pronounced. Now an ancient Russian immigrant, Lyonka claims to be the last living witness to the Romanovs' brutal murders, and sets down the dark secrets of his past with the imperial family. Does he hold the key to the many questions surrounding the family's murder? Historically vivid and compelling, The Kitchen Boy is also a touching portrait of a loving family that was in many ways similar yet so different from any other. I especially really love The Kitchen Boy, you guys. There's just some moments near the end that have me crying my eyes out. Next up, The White Russian by Tom Bradby. You guys, I need to reread this book sometime in the future. I need to reread it and do a review for you guys because I freaking love this book. I wish more people knew about this book. Because yeah, even here on Goodreads, there's only like 61 reviews, and that's a freaking shame. Oh my god. This book takes place in January 1917, with St. Petersburg on the brink of revolution. Sandro Rusky, the city's chief police investigator, returns from exile in Siberia only to be assigned a grisly case: the bodies of a young couple found on the ice of the frozen river Neva. Or Neva. Is it Neva? Neva? Something like that. Just outside the Tsar's winter palace. Rusky's investigation leads him dangerously close to the royal family and to the woman he loves, and he finds himself confronting both a ruthless killer and the ghosts of his past as he fights desperately to save all that he cares for. Seriously, you guys, if you love Imperial Russia, Romanovs, you need to go pick this book up. I highly suggest it. Okay, this next book might be a little odd to put in this video because it's not strictly just historical fiction. The historical fiction parts are actually the smallest amount in this book. The book is really mostly focused on a present-day setting with the historical scenes kind of interspersed throughout there. But I wanted to include it in this video because it does have something to do with the Romanovs, and it's very much like a treasure hunt sort of book. You know, think something like Dan Brown's Robert Langdon books, you know, like Da Vinci's like the Da Vinci Code and Angels and Demons, you know, something like that. This book is very reminiscent of something like that, and I wanted to include it in this list for people who are interested in something more like that. But yeah, still related to the Romanovs, obviously. So yeah, this is The Romanov Prophecy by Steve Barry. This is another freaking fantastic book, you guys, that I love. It's a little silly and cheesy and absurd, but I still love it. So yeah, in the past, the historical setting, 10 months have passed since Nicholas II's reign was cut short by revolutionaries. Tonight, the White Army advances on the town where the Tsar and his family are being held captive by the Bolsheviks. Nicholas dares to hope for salvation. Instead, the Romanovs are coldly and methodically executed. So yeah, you get that. You get that all in the historical setting. So then yeah, Moscow, present day. Atlanta lawyer Miles Lord, fluent in Russian and well-versed in the country's history, is thrilled to be in Moscow on the eve of such a momentous event. After the fall of communism and a succession of weak governments, the Russian people have voted to bring back the monarchy. The new Tsar will be chosen from the distant relatives of Nicholas II by a specially appointed commission, and Miles' job is to perform a background check on the Tsarist candidate favored by a powerful group of Western businessmen. But research quickly becomes the least of Miles' concerns when he is nearly killed by gunmen on a city plaza. Suddenly, Miles is racing across continents, shadowed by nefarious henchmen. At first, his only question is why people are pursuing him, but after a strange conversation with a mysterious Russian who steers Miles towards the writings of Rasputin, he becomes desperate to know more. Most important, what really happened to the family of Russia's last Tsar. His only companion is Aklina Petrov, a Russian circus performer sympathetic to his struggle, and his only guide is a cryptic message from Rasputin that implies that a bloody night of so long ago is not the last chapter in the Romanov story, and that someone might even have survived the massacre. The prophecy's implications are earth-shattering, not only for the future of the Tsar and Mother Russia, but also for Miles himself. So yeah, you guys, this story, if you can't tell, it sounds a little cheesy and absurd and just totally out there, but I freaking love it. It's just so good. You guys, it's like a guilty pleasure for me, and I had to include it on this list. Next up, the first book was the Romanov Prophecy. Now we have the Romanov Conspiracy. People need to get a little more better with their titles here, don't they? So starting off, this one also has a historical and a present-day setting, but the historical setting is the primary setting in this book over the modern. So yeah, in the modern, Dr. Laura Pavlov, an American forensic archaeologist, is about to unravel a mystery that promises to shed light on one of the 20th century's greatest enigmas. A member of an international team digging on the outskirts of the present-day Russian city of Ekaterinburg, where the Romanov royal family was executed in July 1918, Pavlov discovers a body perfectly preserved in the permafrost of a disused mine shaft. The remains offer dramatic new clues to the disappearance of the Romanovs, in particular their famous daughter, Princess Anastasia, whose murder has always been in question. Pavlov's discovery sets her on an unlikely journey to Ireland, where a carefully hidden account of years-old covert mission is about to change the accepted course of world history and hurl her back into the past, into a maelstrom of deceit, secrets, and lies. So, yeah. This book is way more than just that. Like I said, it's primarily a historical fiction setting, pretty much leading up to the execution of the Romanovs, what happened there, what happened after, and yeah, a lot of the focusing very strongly on the rescue attempts more than anything. Next up, I got a young adult book here for anyone in my younger demographic or whatever who might like a younger targeted book over an adult book. This is Arena by J. Nell Patrick. This just has a very short plot synopsis here. Natalia knows a secret. A magical Fabergé egg glows within the walls of Russia's Winter Palace. It holds a power rooted in the land and stolen from the mystics. Power that in the right hands can save her way of life. But it's in the wrong hands. Okay, so yeah, we have, this is young adult, you guys, taking massive liberties with the history, obviously, focusing on a fictional character, but she's in love with Alexei Romanov. And yeah, a magical Fabergé egg. If you like that sort of thing, if you're looking for something a bit more magical with Romanov historical fiction, you might want to check this out. Next up, this is also for younger readers. This is Anastasia and Her Sisters by Carolyn Meyer. There's a heavy price to pay for royalty in this compelling and true story of Anastasia Romanov and fellow Grand Duchesses of Russia from an award-winning novelist. It's summer in 1914, and the Romanovs are aboard the Standard, the Russian royal yacht. Tsar Nicholas, Empress Alexandra, their 4 daughters, and the youngest child, Tsarevich Alexei, are sailing to Romania to meet Crown Prince Carol and his parents. It seems like a fairy tale existence for the 4 Grand Duchesses, dressed in beautiful clothes, traveling from place to place, but it's not. Life inside the palace is far from a fairy tale. The girl's younger brother suffers from an excruciating, painful, and deadly blood disease, and their parents have chosen to shield the Russian people from the severity of the future Tsar's condition. The secrets and strain are hard on the family, and conditions are equally dire beyond the palace walls. Peasants chafe under the burden of extreme poverty, and Tsar Nicholas's leadership power weakens, and when the unthinkable happens, Germany declares war on Russia, nothing in Anastasia's world will ever be the same. So yeah, this is primarily focused on Anastasia's point of view, really focusing on her and her sisters, as the title suggests, and her brother, and yeah, leading up to what's happened in 1918. Enchantments, a novel of Rasputin's daughter and the Romanovs by Catherine Harrison. The second on this list focused on Rasputin's daughter. St. Petersburg, 1917. After Rasputin's body is pulled from the icy waters of the Neva River, his 18-year-old daughter, Masha, is sent to live at the imperial palace with Tsar Nicholas and his family. Desperately hoping that Masha has inherited Rasputin's healing powers, Tsarina Alexandra asks her to tend to her son, the headstrong Prince Alexei, who suffers from hemophilia. Soon after Masha arrives at the palace, the Tsar is forced to abdicate and the Bolsheviks place the royal family under house arrest. As Russia descends into civil war, Masha and Alexei find solace in each other's company to escape the confinement of the palace and to distract the prince from the pain she cannot heal. Masha tells him stories, some embellished and others entirely imagined, about Nicholas and Alexandra's courtship, Rasputin's exploits, and their wild and wonderful country, now on the brink of an irrecoverable transformation. In the worlds of their imagination, the weak become strong, legend becomes fact, and a future that will never come to pass feels close at hand. And yeah, this is another book that's a little bit more, diving more into magical realism. But yeah, if you want something more focused on Alexei, you might like this. Another freaking fantastic book, you guys, that I loved. This is I Was Anastasia by Ariel Lawhon. Seriously, this book had some crazy twists and turns that I was like, what? Oh my god, I loved it. So yeah, this has two timelines, but they both take place in a historical setting. The first timeline in 1918, under direct orders from Vladimir Lenin, Bolshevik secret police force Anastasia Romanov along with the entire imperial family into a damp basement in Siberia where they face a merciless firing squad. None survive. At least that is what the executioners have always claimed. And then the other timeline takes place in the 1920s. A young woman bearing an uncanny resemblance to Anastasia Romanov is pulled shivering and senseless from a canal in Berlin. Refusing to explain her presence in the freezing water, she is taken to the hospital where an examination reveals that her body is riddled with countless horrific scars. When she finally does speak, this frightened, mysterious woman claims to be the Russian Grand Duchess Anastasia. So yeah, if you know that story, it's a woman. She's going by Anna Anderson, claiming that she's Anastasia. And the great thing about this narrative, you guys, this narrative, like I said, you have the 1918 timeline over here, you have the 1920 timeline over here, and the whole narrative works backwards, essentially. You have Anastasia over here, you have Anna Anderson over here, and yet everything's kind of working backwards. And you're filling in the gaps, essentially. The narrative is definitely not a linear narrative at all. It's definitely a little mind-boggling, and you really do have to pay attention, because the narratives start on opposite ends of the spectrum and merge until you get to the middle where everything finally makes sense and you get your answers. And I loved the structure, and it made for a very compelling story, you guys. Next up, another book I freaking loved. I keep saying that about all these books, you guys. That's The Romanov Empress by C.W. Gortner. And this is narrated by the mother of Russia's last Tsar, Maria Feodorovna. So yeah, we start with Maria Feodorovna. She's barely 19 at the start. She goes by Minnie initially. Minnie knows that her station in life as a Danish princess is to leave her family and enter into a royal marriage, as her older sister Alex has done, moving to England to wed Queen Victoria's eldest son. The winds of fortune bring Minnie to Russia, where she marries the Romanov heir and becomes empress once he ascends the throne. Resistance to his reign strikes at the heart of her family, and the Tsar sets out to crush all who oppose him. Minnie, now called Maria, must tread a perilous path of compromise in a country she has come to love. Her husband's death leaves their son Nicholas as the inexperienced ruler of a deeply divided and crumbling empire. Determined to guide him to reforms that will bring Russia into the modern age, Maria faces implacable opposition from Nicholas's strong-willed wife, Alexandra, whose fervor has led her into a disturbing relationship with a mystic named Rasputin. As the unstoppable wave of revolution rises anew to engulf Russia, Maria will face her most dangerous challenge and her greatest heartache. From the opulent palaces of St. Petersburg and the intriguing lace salons of the aristocracy to World War I battlefields and the bloody countryside occupied by the Bolsheviks, C.W. Gardner sweeps us into an anarchic fall of an empire and the complex, bold heart of the woman who tried to save it. So yeah, if you love all things Romanovs, but you've always been really fascinated with Tsar Nicholas II's mother, Maria Feodorovna, I definitely recommend you pick this book up. It was very, very well done, I think. And then my last recommendation here, you guys, this is The Witches of St. Petersburg by Imogen Edwards Jones. As daughters of the impoverished king of Montenegro, Militsa and Stana must fulfill their duty to their father and leave their beloved home for St. Petersburg to be married into senior positions in the Romanov court. For their new alliances to the Russian nobility will help secure the future of the sisters' native country. Immediately, Militsa and Stana feel like outcasts as the aristocracy shuns them for their provincial ways and for dabbling in the occult. Undeterred, the sisters become resolved to make their mark by falling in with the lonely, depressed Tsarina Alexandra, who, as an Anglo-German, is also an outsider and is not fully accepted by members of the court. After numerous failed attempts to precipitate the birth of a son and heir, the Tsarina is desperate and decides to place her faith in the sisters' expertise with black magic. Promising the Tsarina that they will be able to secure an heir for the Russian dynasty, Militsa and Stana hold seances and experiment with rituals and spells. Gurus, clairvoyants, holy fools, and charlatans all try their luck. The closer they become to the Tsarina and the royal family, the more their status and power is elevated. But when the sisters invoke a spiritual shaman who goes by the name of Rasputin, the die is cast. For they have not only irrecoverably sealed their own fates, but also that of Russia itself. So yeah, once again, if you love this time in Russian history with Nicholas and Alexandra, this definitely has a stronger focus on two little-known women during this time period that had some connection with Rasputin. It was very good. I highly recommend it. So, you guys, that is it for my recommendations for Romanov-based historical fiction, more specifically focusing on, that time with Tsar Nicholas II. So you guys, like I said, this is just my very small list. I could add like another dozen or more books to this list. You guys, what other books based on the Romanovs have you guys read and enjoyed? Just let me know down below, because I would definitely love to get my hands on them. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye, guys.